Welcome to Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lorenzo.
And Lorenzo, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, bruh. The holiday time of year, I enjoy just seeing people celebrate how they celebrate, and gift giving and just time with family, no matter what you believe or celebrate. I think it's a great time of year.
Yeah, for sure. We're very blessed to be around family a lot this year, and really trying to kind of stay in the moment when it comes to who I'm surrounded with. Which is really important when it comes to the topic of today. This is our 10th episode of our 2022 Holiday Hacks, and the last episode will be kind of a recap of the 10 episodes. But for this 10th episode, we're talking about qualities of successful leaders, and the last quality we're talking about is that successful leaders have the ability to remain present, fully present in whatever it is that they're doing, which is, I'll admit, the most difficult one for me personally out of this entire list. And that's why I said I was really trying to be fully present in the moment with my family this year whenever I was with them. It's rooted in this belief that I can do multiple things at once. And sometimes I'm right. I can do multiple things at once. And sometimes I'm wrong. I can't do multiple things at once. But even when I'm right and I can do multiple things at once, it doesn't mean that the person I'm talking to knows I can do multiple things at once, or believes that I can, or most importantly, believes they feel important in the moment, which is sometimes making a person feel important in the moment is more important than hearing what they actually had to say to begin with. It's how they feel in the interaction, and being fully present is required for this.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of the reasons why I've over the years I've really dedicated myself to using a notebook and pen and paper when I sit down with people around development. And taking notes and asking questions and writing things down with the pen and paper.
Why is that, by the way? Like, why is that better? If I'm with you in a meeting and you're writing something down, why is it that I inherently think that you're present in the moment, but if you're typing it in a note on your iPhone, that somehow is not present? You can even tell me that's what you're doing. I'm not on Facebook. I'm typing a note with my notes. It doesn't feel like you're present. Writing it down, it somehow doesn't detract from that. Why is that?
Well, I think it's just the way that we project our own thoughts onto that. Is we know how tempting it is and how many things happen on a phone, and the millions of times that you were writing a note and somebody sent you a text message or this or that, and then we're not fully in the moment. We're not present. We're not engaged, versus having to sit down, and write down with pen and paper, and it takes you back usually to some element of, school or, note taking, whatever that is. But that is like whatever you said was important enough for me to have to write it down. And just how we define that is so very different than how we utilize our technology to take notes. So I don't know. But I do that because what it has helped me to do, not only to be more present in the idea of writing things down, but then you have to physically do something to get a technological device. You have to pick up a phone, you have to look at a watch, you have to do something that will take you out of the moment. And just that simple, small thing is usually enough to just keep me there and keep me dedicated to what's going on. And of course, there are many times when you're in the moment, you're present, you're having a conversation, and something does pop up, or you get a phone call that you're not expecting, and you have to answer it. But I think being conscious of those moments to say, hey, I'm sorry, I need to respond to this. I'm sorry, let me take this call. I'm like pause for a second, let me do just being conscious of the fact that you don't just kind of blend away into the background. And you start typing, and like I've caught myself doing it with people as I'm talking to somebody. If I see them take out their phone or I see them text messaging, I'll just stop talking mid-sentence. And most of the time, they think that I'm done talking about what I was talking about. Just because I feel like, all right, like this is going to happen. I understand it. There's no point in me continuing the dialogue until the person is back and they're attentive. But I only know that because I've been guilty as well, and I've done the same exact thing that I'm constantly working on.
I remember something that a video that I saw. I think it came out before we even started this podcast, and it was with Simon Sinek talking about millennials in the workforce, and so this was years and years ago, and he says that one of the things that he does in his company is that when you go into a meeting, when people are kind of milling about in the meeting room, 5-10 minutes before the meeting starts, he believes that that's when those moments of connection happen, and he doesn't want to walk into a meeting and see 10 people sitting around a table all typing on their phones. And so he institutes a no cell phones allowed policy in the meeting rooms. You got to leave it outside the meeting room. And I don't know that that's an effective thing to do in every organization. You got to kind of each take your own situation for how it is. But he's not wrong in that it's really difficult to be in one of those moments of making personal connections with somebody if you have a phone in your hand. And if you can keep it in your pocket or not bring it with you, whatever it is, you're more likely to start a conversation with somebody, because we need it's this drive for social interaction. And if you feel like you're not getting it from people in person, you'll seek it out elsewhere. You'll seek it out electronically. I don't know that that's necessarily a problem, but it's a problem to try to do both at the same time. And so, yeah, leaders definitely need to be fully present in the moment if they want to, at the very minimum, make someone feel validated for doing what they're doing. And so what I want to ask you, Lorenzo, is have you ever been in a situation where somebody actually called you out for not being fully present in the moment? Didn't just let it go, didn't just walk away, but actually called you out on it, and I want to see how you reacted. I want to ask you that, but first I want to give it up to word for one of our sponsors. All right, Lorenzo, has somebody ever called you out for being not fully present in the moment?
Yeah, so bad that we've instituted a rule at the house.
Oh, wow. Oh, this is a home thing.
It's a home thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it happens at work from time to time, obviously. But no, at home, when my wife and I, had the girls, and they started to get old enough where they could eat at the dinner table. One of the things that that we were both guilty of, but I will definitely take the lion's share of this one, was just having a phone, an ever-present phone on the table, even if it was face down, just to kind of be available and to check things out in conversation. And it was one of the things that she called out, and we talked about it. And I said, you're right. Like we need to be present in these moments and in these times, and especially if we're going to have children that are going to be watching us and role modeling our behaviors and defining what's right or wrong. If we're going to ask them in a handful of years to not have their phones at a table, then we should really establish this now. And so yeah, we instituted a no phones at the dinner table. Now, again, I think I might have shared this before. We have a little bit of a cheat code because we both have watches that receive messages and phone calls. So you can glance quickly to see if something's going on. But just physically not having a phone at the table, that alone has just made the dialogue so much more, the conversation so much more, the engagement so much more. It's just a small thing that I think has been so helpful in making sure that both of us are present in those moments. And in that space, and I've taken that on, especially when it comes to work. When I'm in a development touch base, I'm usually very specific in keeping my phone in my pocket instead of taking my phone and putting it on the table while also writing stuff down. I do my absolute best to just keep it off the table and keep it out of the vision of anybody. That way, if I need to glance at a watch to see what's going on, I can tell if it's an emergency or not, and I can quickly disassociate with it, so I can continue to stay in present in the moment.
Yeah, I'm so guilty of this when it comes to the dinner table thing that I actually found a workaround. And this problem has been solved now. There are no phones at the dinner table anymore. But when my wife called out the fact that there were phones at the dinner table and shouldn't be there, I found a way of convincing my kids that the fun thing to do at the dinner table was play Guess the Song. And I would play a song on my phone that they had to raise their hand and guess what the song was, who could guess first. And that allowed me to say, oh, it's not about having the phone. I mean, how else would I play this game with them if I didn't have my phone with me? And then that lasted for about a month. And then she saw through that when she saw that it was, halfway about playing that game and halfway about what I could do what else I could do when I had my phone in my hand. And now that was, that one was squashed too. But yeah, it is a serious problem in a lot of places. And, we focus on being present when it comes to technology, because let's be honest, that is the majority of how people are distracted and they don't feel fully present. But there are other things too. There are other ways that people cannot be fully present when it comes to, dealing with an employee who's talking to you. And it doesn't necessarily have to be electronically. It could be that you are, that you're trying to, hey, come walk with me and talk with me. And you're both kind of walking. It's amazing what stopping and looking at someone and just having eye contact with them during a conversation will do in terms of making sure they understand you're fully present, more so than even just walking alongside them and talking. And so it, again, yes, technology is important here when it comes to making sure you're fully present. And if you can eliminate that part of it, I think that you're 90% of the way there. But even if you're really good at that, there are still ways where people can walk away from a conversation feeling like you weren't fully present, even though they didn't see a cell phone anywhere. And so I think it's just super important. Again, sometimes just being heard, making your people feel heard, is more important than whatever problem it is that you're trying to solve. Just them knowing that you are available to them and that you will be present in the moment, that oftentimes can solve the problem. They'll come to the conclusion that they need to come to on their own without you even having to help them. And it just meant being able to look them in the eyes and listen to them and validate what they were trying to say, as opposed to figuring out when it was your turn to talk or when you could get on to the next thing in your life.
Yep, I completely agree. And with that, it brings us to the end of this episode. This is Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Lorenzo.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll talk to you all next time.